I never loved you. You were just the safest option when he left me. Her words echoed in my ears long after she'd walked away, her heels clicking against the hospital floor like gunshots. Our daughter was still asleep in the ICU, hooked to tubes, and the woman I thought was my wife had just shattered every illusion I held. The nurse beside me froze. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. My throat had dried up, my heart felt like it had been yanked out, stomped on, and returned with a smile. She didn't cry, not a single tear. She just stood there calm. Cold, composed, and said it like it was a simple truth. Like, it was okay. She was never meant to happen, she added, her eyes glancing briefly at the child we had raised together for 6 years. Neither was the other one. That's when I knew this wasn't just a fight. This was the unraveling of everything. Everything I had sacrificed, every moment I had fought for, every night I held her when she missed him, it had all been a lie. My name is Ahan. I'm 34, a father of 2. A husband, or so I thought. And I was standing in a hospital hallway, realizing I'd been nothing but a placeholder in someone else's love story. And now, our daughter was fighting for her life, and the woman beside me couldn't even pretend to care. The irony? I had given up everything for her. I had walked away from my family, switched careers, built a home around her dreams. And still, I wasn't enough. Her true love he was always there. Not in person, no. But in the way she looked distant when I talked, in the way she smiled at old songs, in the way she never truly let me into that locked corner of her heart. She used to say he left her for someone better. That he broke her. I believed it. I comforted her. I picked up the pieces. What she never told me was that she had never stopped waiting for him to return. That night, after she left the hospital without looking back, I stood at my daughter's bedside, her little chest rising and falling slowly under the weight of machines. My son was at home with my sister, unaware that the foundation of his world was crumbling. And in that cold, sterile room, I made a decision. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't shout. I wouldn't even cry. I would do what I had always done: protect my children. Only this time, I wouldn't protect them from the world. I'd protect them from her. When she came home the next morning, acting like nothing had happened, I had already packed our bags. The apartment was quiet. She asked, "Where are you going?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time I saw a stranger. "We're leaving," I said simply. She scoffed. "You'll be back." But she was wrong. I never returned. And now, 3 years later, she's standing in front of me at a school event, staring at the kids she gave up, with tears in her eyes and regret etched into every line of her face. What changed? Why is she back? And what exactly is it that she regrets now? My name is Ahan Mayra, 34, architect by profession, father by heart, abandoned husband by fate. If you had met me 10 years ago, you'd have seen a wildly different man, ambitious, hopeful, a bit naive. I believe love could heal anything. That if you gave someone enough loyalty, patience, and kindness, they'd eventually love you back. I was wrong. Back then, I was fresh out of college, climbing the ladder at a mid-tier architecture firm in Mumbai. I wasn't rich, but I was passionate. I had dreams of designing homes that felt like love solid, comforting, safe. Ironic, considering I never truly had one myself. My parents passed in a car accident when I was 17. My younger sister Tara was only 12. I raised her, protected her, made sure she didn't feel the whole life had drilled into our hearts. Maybe that's why I learned early how to give without expecting much in return. And maybe that's why when I met her, I fell harder than I should have. Her name was Niyati, stunning in a way that wasn't loud. Soft-spoken, graceful, with eyes that held a kind of sadness that made you want to fix her. She was recovering from a breakup when we met, a bad one. Her college boyfriend had left her to marry someone abroad. She told me she didn't believe in love anymore. I told her I'd wait until she did. And I did wait. I gave her everything. My time, my patience, my support. When she cried over him, I held her. When she doubted her worth, I reminded her of it. I watched her slowly gather the pieces of herself, and I thought maybe someday she'd look at me with the same love she once had for him. Eventually, we got married. Not in a whirlwind of passion or excitement, but quietly, almost like a compromise she was convincing herself to accept. People around us called us perfect, the doting husband, the elegant wife. We had 2 children within 5 years, a boy and a girl, Arav and Myra. They became my entire world. But behind the doors of our perfect home, cracks began to show. She never laughed the way I hoped she would, never touched me like I was someone she chose. And every time I tried to bridge the distance, she gave me polite tolerance in return. I told myself she just needed time. Maybe motherhood had worn her down. Maybe life had. Maybe love would grow slowly. It never did. She kept old photos of him, her, true love in a drawer she thought I didn't know about. Once, I found an old, unsent email on her laptop, addressed to him. She wrote how she missed him, how sometimes she woke up thinking of him, how she regretted not waiting longer. I didn't confront her then. What could I even say? That I knew she loved the ghost while lying beside me? Over time, the man I used to be started fading. The dreamer became silent. The romantic became practical. I stopped expecting affection. I focused on the kids, on work, on anything that didn't make me feel like I wasn't enough. And then Myra got sick. A viral infection turned into something serious. She was admitted for days. I was with her every hour. And Niati drifted, disconnected, cold. It all came crashing down in that hospital corridor when she finally said, "Itai never loved you. You were just the safest option." That was the moment the last part of me, the one that still held out hope, died. Now, 3 years later, I live in Pune. A smaller city, a slower life, a peaceful one. I work as a freelance architect, take smaller projects so I can spend more time with my kids. Myra is 9 now, healthy, strong, with her mother's eyes but a heart far kinder. Arav is 11, quiet, thoughtful, always watching people more than he talks to them. Like me. They ask about their mom sometimes. I never speak ill of her. I just say she had her own journey to figure out. Tara, my sister, is with us. She helps me raise them. She's more than just an aunt. She's their compass, their comfort zone, when I'm too emotionally tired to be both father and mother. Despite everything, I still believe in love, but not the kind that blinds you or breaks you. I believe in quiet loyalty, in safe laughter, in showing up, day after day, even when no one claps for you. My biggest fear? That one day, my kids will look at love the way I did, something you have to earn, something you have to be worthy of. I want more for them. I want them to know they are enough, just as they are. So, when I saw her Ageniati standing at Arav's school science fair, looking like she'd aged a lifetime in just 3 years, I didn't know what to feel. She looked different. Not just physically, though. She had lost weight, her cheeks a little sunken, her eyes less guarded, but emotionally too. She looked lost, and for the first time, I wasn't angry. I was curious. Why now? What brought her back? And more importantly, what was it exactly that she regretted? The shift didn't happen suddenly. It crept in like slow poison, unnoticed at first, until it was too late. It started with small things. Niati became emotionally unavailable, lost in her thoughts even when the children needed her. She smiled less, stopped asking about my day, avoided eye contact when I spoke. I blamed it on exhaustion. Parenthood was hard, but something told me it wasn't just fatigue. It was detachment. One night, while she was asleep, I got up to charge my phone and saw hers blinking. A message from an unknown number. I shouldn't have looked, but something in me needed to know. It was always you. I never moved on. The name was saved as K. I felt my chest tighten. I clicked the thread. Dozens of messages, voice notes, pictures from years ago. A timeline of something I was never part of. She had been in touch with him. The true love she told me had abandoned her. The one I had silently competed with in her heart for all these years. They had reconnected. That was the truth. They had been messaging for months. Emotional messages. Nostalgic confessions. She told him things she never told me. How she still thought of him. How she felt trapped in a life that wasn't hers. How she wished she'd never settled. She never mentioned the kids. Never mentioned me. The betrayal wasn't physical yet, but it was enough. Enough to split my heart in two. I didn't confront her that night. I lay awake beside her, thinking about every moment we'd shared, questioning its authenticity. Wondering if she had ever truly been mine. The next morning, I dropped the kids at school and went to Tara's cafe. She'd started her own little corner bakery a year ago, and I often went there when I needed to think. She noticed my face the moment I walked in. "What's wrong?" I broke. I told her everything. Tara listened quietly, then took a long breath. "You've given everything a hon, and she keeps treating you like a backup plan. She's their mother," I whispered. "And you're their father. Their constant, their safe place. Don't forget that." That was the first time the thought crossed my mind. What if I took them away from her? But I wasn't ready. Not yet. I still held out hope she would choose us. A week later, the final blow came. Myra developed a fever that didn't go down for days. We took her to the hospital, and after a few tests, she was admitted for a possible infection-related complication. I stayed at the hospital round the clock. The Addie came and went. She looked detached. One night, while I held Myra's hand, she came in late. No apology. Just silence. I looked at her and asked, "Where were you?" She shrugged. "I needed air." It was 2:30 a.m. Something inside me snapped. "Air? Your daughter's on in the fourth and you needed air?" She turned to me with that cold expression I was starting to hate. "Don't make this dramatic, Gahan. You always do this." "Do what? Act like you're the only one who cares. Am I wrong?" My voice cracked, because it doesn't feel like you're even here. That's when she finally said, "It's the truth I wasn't ready to hear. I never loved you." Silence. "You were safe. That's it. He left me. You were kind. You were available. So I convinced myself it could work." My entire world tilted. "And the kids?" I whispered. She looked away. "They weren't planned. I accepted them. But no, they weren't what I dreamed of." I stood frozen. Like my soul had left my body and was watching from the corner of the room. Niati walked out 5 minutes later. I didn't stop her. That night, while watching Myra sleep with tubes around her tiny arms, I decided. This was no longer about marriage. This was about survival. Mine. My kids. Our peace. When I told Tara the next morning, she didn't flinch. "Good. It's about time." She helped me arrange everything. Legal support. Documents. I didn't file for divorce immediately, but I filed for temporary guardianship and moved out with the kids. I left a note. Nothing dramatic, just the truth. You're free, just as you always wanted to be. And so am I. Niati didn't fight back. At first I thought she was relieved. Maybe she was. She didn't even call for a week. When she did, it was to ask how the kids were. Not to apologize. Not to ask for a second chance. Just updates. I gave her that. I didn't block her. I didn't slander her to our kids. I kept things cordial. For them, Tara moved in with us permanently. She became the glue we needed, holding my broken pieces together with light night tea and reminders that I was still worth something. I rebuilt our lives, slowly, steadily, away from her. And just when things began to settle, just when I thought she was out of our lives for good, she came back. Not with a lawyer. Not with accusations, but with regret. And that more than anything scared me. Because I wasn't sure if I had the strength to hear her say the one thing I never thought she would. I was wrong. I thought I was past it. 3 years of silence. 3 years of raising Arav and Myra alone, mending my heart piece by piece. I thought I had buried that version of myself, the one who begged for scraps of affection, the one who stayed even after being told he was never loved. But then Niati showed up at Myra's school event like she still belonged in our world. She looked out of place, fidgeting with the strap of her bag, her eyes darting nervously as the teacher announced Myra's name on the mic. The children clapped, unaware of the silent storm brewing in the back of the auditorium. When our eyes met, something flickered. Not anger, not love, confusion. She took a tentative step toward me after the event ended. "Ahan," she said, almost breathless. "Can we talk?" I looked at her. The same woman who once shattered me without a flinch. And now here she was, voice trembling like I was the one with the power to break her. "Not here," I said. Myra was holding my hand, excited to show me her certificate. I smiled at her, tucked the moment away, and left without giving Niati more than that. But inside, the war had already begun. That night, I stood on the balcony of our apartment while the kids slept. The city buzzed below me, indifferent to the ache rising in my chest. Why now? Why was she suddenly here after all this time? I didn't want to care. I didn't want to feel anything. But old wounds don't stay buried when the person who inflicted them comes knocking. The next day I got a message from an unknown number. "Please, just one conversation. You can yell, you can walk away after, but please let me speak." I didn't reply. Instead, I went to Tara. "She showed up," I said. Tara's face darkened. "What does she want?" "She says she wants to talk." Tara crossed her arms. She had years to talk. Why now? Why after you finally rebuilt your life? I didn't know. And that not knowing it gnawed at me. I tried to ignore her. I kept working, kept playing chess with Arav, painting with Myra, pretending that her reappearance was just a glitch in the matrix. But she started leaving notes at the cafe, short ones with shaky handwriting. I made a mistake. It wasn't you who ruined anything. I missed them. I didn't know if she meant the kids or us. One night, I found Myra staring at the window. "What's up, sweetheart?" I asked, kneeling beside her. "I saw Muma near school today," she whispered. She waved, but then she left. My breath caught. "Did she talk to you?" "No. She just looks sad." That was the night I cracked. I texted her back. "Tomorrow. 7 p.m. 1 hour. That's all." The next evening, I met her at a park, not the one the kids go to, but one far from our neighborhood. Neutral ground. She was already there, sitting on a bench like a student awaiting punishment. Her hands trembled as she clutched the coffee cup she hadn't sipped. "I know I don't deserve anything," she started. "You don't," I replied. She nodded. "But I need to say something." I stayed silent. She looked at me, eyes filled with something I hadn't seen before: guilt. "You didn't ruin my love," she said. I did. I kept chasing something that didn't exist anymore. I blamed you for my unhappiness because you were the only one who stayed. But it wasn't fair. You gave me everything. A part of me wanted to scream. Another part just ached. I thought he would come back. I thought if I kept a piece of him alive in my heart, I'd get that love again. But he didn't come, and I let everything real slip away. She paused. "The kids, I think about them every day. You had them," I said coldly. "You just didn't see them." "I see them now," she whispered. It wasn't enough, but it wasn't nothing. I stood. "You want forgiveness, but I don't know if I have any left." She looked up. "I'm not asking for your love. I just want to be their mother again, in any way you'll allow." That was my dilemma. Could I let her back into their lives without letting her back into mine? Could I protect them from more hurt while still honoring their bond with the woman who gave them life? I didn't know. And as I walked away, her final words clung to me like a shadow. I didn't realize what I had until I lost all of it. 2 weeks passed after our conversation at the park. I didn't reach out. Neither did she. But something had changed. Myra began drawing pictures with 3 figures: Agan May, her, and Niati. Arav grew quiet at night, asking questions like, "Why did Muma stop coming to school plays?" It was Tara who noticed it first. "She's haunting their thoughts again," she said one night as we sat in the kitchen. "Are you going to let her back in?" "I don't know what's right anymore," I admitted. "She's their mother, Ahan, but you're their safe. Don't confuse biology with consistency." Her words echoed in my mind for days. Then the second twist hit, one I never saw coming. I was sorting laundry when I found a small envelope in Myra's backpack. Inside was a hand-drawn card with messy handwriting. "I'm sorry I wasn't the mother you needed. I want to be better. I'll wait for the day you're ready to forgive me. Moma." But it wasn't the message that shook me. It was the fact that Myra had been meeting her. Secretly. When I confronted her, she cried. "She told me not to tell. She said you'd be mad." My heart cracked again. Not because they had met, but because Niati had gone behind my back to do it. I called her that evening, voice tight. "You don't get to sneak into their lives. You don't get to lie to them and teach them to lie to me. I didn't lie you told a 7-year-old to keep secrets." She went quiet. Then, I just wanted to see her smile. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. But it didn't end there. A few days later, I got a call from my lawyer. "Ahon, there's been a motion filed. Custody review." I froze. "What?" "She's requested partial custody, says she's rehabilitated and wants to be part of the children's lives." I couldn't breathe. The woman who once said she never dreamed of being a mother was now legally fighting for that title back. Tara was livid. "She has no idea what it took to raise them alone. She just walks back in like it's a movie comeback." "She's still their mother," I muttered, torn between rage and confusion. "No, you are. You're both parents. She just gave birth. You raised them." The hearing was set for a month later. I spent that time battling 1,000 voices in my head. The fear of losing them. The guilt of being the barrier between a mother and her children. The rage of her betrayal. The ache of old wounds reopening. But none of that compared to what happened 2 weeks before the hearing. I found Arav crying behind the bookshelf in our living room. When I asked him what was wrong, he handed me a notebook. His writing. A journal, maybe. "I don't want to choose between Muma and Papa. I love her because she's Muma. But I don't trust her. I don't want to live in 2 homes. I like it here. And what if she leaves again?" I sat beside him, hugging him tightly as he trembled. That was when the clarity hit me. This wasn't about what Niati wanted. This was about what the kids needed. And what they needed was stability. She had the right to try again. But that didn't mean she could erase the damage she'd done just because she finally regretted it. So I filed a counter motion. Supervised visits. Gradual reintegration. Only if the children consented. When she found out, she showed up at my apartment, eyes wild with emotion. "You're punishing me." "No," I said calmly. "I'm protecting them." "You can't keep them from me." "I'm not. I'm giving you a chance to prove yourself, this time not with words, but with actions." Her voice dropped. "You think I'll fail?" I sighed. "I think you need to stop expecting everything to be like it was before." She swallowed, hard. "I thought you'd hate me." "I did. Maybe I still do. But that's not what this is about anymore." She looked down. "I don't know how to be better." "Then start by not making it worse." The old dynamic had shifted. She was no longer the one in control. No longer the one calling the shots. And I was no longer the broken man she left behind. I was a father, a protector, and she was just someone trying to earn back what she once gave up. The day of the custody hearing arrived, and with it came a storm. It wasn't just the clouds rumbling overhead as we walked into the courthouse, it was the clash of everything we had been through, the lives we had built, destroyed, and tried to rebuild. I wore a simple shirt and tie. Tara was with me, holding Myra's hand while Arav clung to my side. Their eyes were wide and anxious. I wished I could protect them from this too, but some battles have to be fought in the open. Niati was already inside, seated with her lawyer. She looked different. Polished, quiet, composed. But the bags under her eyes betrayed her sleepless nights. Her gaze met mine, and for a second, it softened. but I couldn't afford to soften back. The judge, a stern woman in her late 50s, opened with a single sentence. "This court is here to determine what's best for the children. Nothing more, nothing less." And so it began. Her lawyer painted a picture of redemption therapy, stability, employment, a support system. She was lost once, he said, but she has found her way back. And now she wants to be the mother these children deserve. I sat in silence, my fists clenched, my heartbeat thundering. Then came my turn. I didn't have a lawyer speak for me. I stood up and addressed the judge myself. "I don't want to punish her," I began. "I just want to protect my children." I looked at Niati. She left us 3 years ago. Not just me, them. And during that time, I had to become everything: mother, father, comforter, protector. They didn't just lose their mother, they lost their sense of safety. I swallowed the lump in my throat. She says she's changed. I hope that's true. But children don't understand promises, they understand consistency. They don't need a sudden return. They need proof that they won't be abandoned again. I handed over Arav's journal as evidence, just one page, the one that mattered. I don't want to live in 2 homes. I like it here. The courtroom was quiet. The judge read the page carefully. When the hearing paused for deliberation, I stepped outside to catch my breath. Rain had started to fall, tapping softly against the courthouse windows. Niati followed me out. She stood beside me in silence before finally speaking. "You did everything I was too afraid to do." I didn't respond. I came here thinking I could fix things. But standing in that courtroom, I realized I was still trying to take. I didn't come back for the kid's eye. Came back to ease my guilt. I turned to her, surprised. "You fought for them. I only ever fought for myself." She looked at me, eyes filled with something raw. "I don't know if I can be a good mother, but I want to try." I nodded slowly, then stopped trying to take shortcuts. Start where you are. Build trust, not demands. A long pause. "You love Tara?" she asked suddenly. I blinked. "That's not part of this. It is to me." I sighed. "Tara helped me survive. She gave the kids a reason to smile when I couldn't. And yeah, I care about her, deeply." She nodded, forcing a smile through the pain. "Then I really did lose everything, didn't I?" "No," I said gently. "You're losing what you walked away from. That's not the same." Just then, we were called back into the courtroom. The judge looked at both of us with tired eyes. "After reviewing all documents and statements, and considering the emotional well-being of Arav and Myra, I am granting joint legal custody. However, residential custody will remain with Mr. Ahan." Niati flinched. "Supervised visitation will begin immediately. Emotional reconnection must be gradual, consistent, and at the children's pace. No forced involvement, no unannounced meetings." I exhaled slowly. The verdict didn't feel like a victory. It felt like a truce. Outside the courtroom, Niati approached the kids cautiously. Arav took a step behind me. Myra looked up at me, seeking silent permission. I nodded gently. Myra walked up to her mother. Niati knelt down, voice shaking. "Hi, baby." Myra reached out and touched her face. "Are you going to stay this time?" Tears welled in Niati's eyes. "If you let me." Myra looked at her for a long second, then hugged her, brief and uncertain. Arav didn't move. Niati didn't try to hug him. She just smiled gently and said, "I'll wait for you two." We walked away after that. No more drama. No more outbursts. Just rain falling steadily. Later that evening, Tara sat beside me on the couch. Myra was asleep on her lap. Arav was curled next to me, silent but calm. "She's going to try, isn't she?" Tara asked. "She is," I replied. "Do you think they'll forgive her?" "I don't know," I whispered. "But I'm not doing this for her. I'm doing it for them." Tara nodded, her hand slipping into mine. "And for yourself?" I turned to her, finally letting the wall down. For the man I had to become to survive her. He deserves peace too. She kissed my shoulder, and for the first time in years, I felt like everything wasn't falling apart but maybe, just maybe, coming together in a way I hadn't imagined before. 3 months after the custody hearing, everything had shifted. But not in the dramatic, earth-shaking way I had once feared. It was quieter than that, subtle, real. Niati began her supervised visits every Sunday afternoon at the Children's Center. The first 2 times, Arav didn't say a word. He sat beside me in the waiting room, arms crossed, staring at the clock. But Myra went in, hesitant yet hopeful. I remember the 3rd Sunday well. It was a sunny afternoon, and Myra came out of the room beaming, a folded paper in her hand. She drew a cat for me, she whispered. Arav glanced sideways. The next week, he went in with her. He sat in a chair, silent. Didn't speak to Niati, didn't even look at her, but he was there. That was enough. Tara continued to be a quiet strength behind the scenes. She never tried to replace Niati, never overstepped. But every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every lunchbox note reminded the kids and me who had really been there. I was at peace with that. One night, after I tucked the kids into bed, I found a small notebook on the couch. Myra's handwriting covered the first page. Things I like now. Papa's pancakes, Tara's hugs, Moma's new voice. It's soft Arav's jokes us. Even if it's different now. I stared at that list for a long time. It was everything I had fought for. Peace didn't come in one sweeping moment. It came in Pizarov sitting beside Niati without flinching. Myra laughing at something her mother said. Tara stepping back when needed but never disappearing. It came in the quiet mornings when no one cried. The dinners without tension. The laughter that didn't sound forced anymore. And in me, I wasn't the man I used to be. When Niati left, I was shattered more than I admitted. Not just by her departure, but by the blame. The guilt. The belief that somehow I had caused it all. But over time, I realized something that changed everything. I didn't ruin her love story. She abandoned the family she wasn't ready for. And I didn't just survive it. I built something stronger. One evening, Niati asked to meet alone. We sat at a quiet cafe near the Children's Center. She stirred her tea, her face strong but calm. I never really said thank you, she said. For what? For not making them hate me. I took a sip of my coffee before answering. They deserve the truth but not poison. A pause. I envy you, you know, she said softly. I raised an eyebrow. You never fell apart. I smiled faintly. No, I just did it when no one was watching. She nodded, understanding. I'm not asking for another chance, Ahan. I know I can't fix everything. But I want to be someone they trust, even if it's just a little. I want to earn that. I looked at her for a long time. You already started, I said. Don't stop halfway this time. She smiled a quiet, real smile. When I returned home that night, Tara was sitting on the balcony. The kids were asleep. I joined her under the fairy lights we'd strung months ago. She handed me a cup of tea. How'd it go? I looked at the stars. Not perfect, but honest. She leaned on my shoulder. That's better. We sat in silence for a while. I used to hate her, Tara admitted. For leaving. For making you doubt yourself. For making them cry. I didn't respond. But now I just pity her. She lost a chance to build what we did. We? I said with a grin. She rolled her eyes, smirking. Don't get smug. You're lucky I even like you. I laughed. The sound surprising even me. But it felt good. Natural. The kind of laughter you earn. Weeks later, Myra had her school recital. She sang a song off key and loud, but with a beaming smile. Arav read a poem he wrote about the 3 people who make him feel safest. He mentioned me. Tara. And, to my surprise, Muma, who's learning to be brave. Afterward, Niati approached us in the parking lot. She looked at Tara. Thank you, she said, for being there when I wasn't. Tara gave a soft nod. Just keep showing up now. It wasn't a friendship, but it was a beginning. And that's what this whole journey had become, beginnings born from endings. I often look back at the man I used to be. The one who watched his world fall apart. The one who raised two tiny hearts with shaking hands. The one who loved so hard he broke, and still kept giving. I don't regret what I lost anymore, because it gave me what I was meant to find. Not just fatherhood, not just healing, but strength. And love not the fireworks kind, but the steady flame that stays lit through every storm. That night, after we got home from the recital, Myra hugged me tightly. "You're my favorite person," she whispered. I held her close. "You're mine too." Then she looked up and added, "But it's okay if you have more than one." Arav from behind us called out, "Yeah, I guess Tara's okay too." We all laughed. And in that moment, messy, loud, filled with imperfect healing, I realized this was our family. Not the one we started with, but the one we built together. Through fire, through pain, through change. And I wouldn't trade it for the world.